Hello, hello. My name is Jenna. Welcome to my channel, especially if this is your first time, and welcome back if you were here before. I am an energy healing practitioner and teacher in Rome, Italy, and my mission is to empower expats, light workers, starseeds, even people who have no idea what those things are, or even if they consider themselves to be those. I'm really here to support people who don't feel so home within themselves to feel home within themselves. And it's an inside job. And the cool thing about it being an inside job means that you, in a sense, have control over what and how you want to experience the things that are happening in your life to some extent. And with energy work, we're able to go within ourselves, shift things from within, focus more on our preferences rather than what is happening or what we don't want to happen. And that in itself, I think, is it's priceless. So I hope you follow along with me on this little journey today because I'm going to talk a bit about culture shock. So whether you are living in a different city, it could be a different state, a different country, wherever you are, even if you're just in your hometown with your family, but you don't quite feel so at home in yourself, this is for you. So culture shock, what is culture shock? So I think from a psychological perspective, it's a series of stages that people naturally move through when they move to a different country generally. But I think this can also happen when moving to a different place that you're not familiar with. And so you can think of it in whatever circumstance fits you best. So these stages, if I can remember them, tend to be, the first stage is the honeymoon stage. So that's when you first get there. Everything's great. Everything's so cool. You're like, wow, I'm so lucky to be here, and everything's perfect. Then there's this kind of descent into frustration because maybe there are language barriers. Maybe things aren't exactly as you expected. Maybe things don't work in the way that you want or the way that you think and the way that you've been taught to think by your circumstances or the country you lived in doesn't quite work for where you are. This could also be like an irritability or hostility stage where you're just like, everything bothers you. And if you go, on Facebook or any expat kind of groups, you will definitely start to notice which people are in that stage by the way they are asking for help or by what they're sharing in their circumstances. I'm kind of chuckling because I've been through it all multiple times, so I get it. The next stage tends to be an adjustment stage. So you're shifting around, trying to figure out how things work, and you're adjusting more or less and changing to fit or deal with your circumstances. Then after that can be depending on who's giving these stages. There can be the sense of adaptation stage, or maybe even acceptance, if not adaptation. It's like, okay, this is how things are. I'm not gonna get emotionally wrought over that. And then sometimes people get to the stage of a sense of belonging. So those are the main stages of culture shock that most people go through as they're moving to a new country, especially, but also even another state or another region in your country. So what I'm going to share with you today are some ways to move through just a couple of, or maybe even one of these stages. Well, we'll move beyond honeymoon because that's generally the easiest one, right? And then at the end of this, I'm going to share with you some intuitive song transmission. So energy in the form of song to help you really anchor into the feeling of home within yourself through that particular stage. So, for me, I've had to experience culture shock in a couple different countries, but also reverse culture shock going back to my own like home country. And so this can apply also for those who are moving back home to their home country and have to basically re-experience these stages. So we'll kind of skip over the honeymoon stage because that's the easiest one because everything seems great. And move to the irritability, hostility, and frustration page, or not page, stage. And I was on Facebook the other day and scrolling through an expat group thing and noticed this poor lady really just, you could tell she was in that stage of irritability because she had just moved to Italy and she had started to experience some of the things that can happen upon moving here. I think for those who visit, it's definitely that honeymoon stage, and then when you have to live there and work through the systems that exist, it can be quite frustrating. So this poor lady was really expressing her frustration, and I knew what she was talking about, and I was really grateful that I had moved beyond that and I have tools to help support me when things get to those points. So with frustration and the irritability and hostility, what I encourage my clients to do is not necessarily to skip over them or suppress them or anything like that. It's like, let them come up. They're coming up for a reason. And often that reason is to show us where things aren't necessarily in alignment or things don't feel good or are not working for us. And so these let us know, these emotions let us know that something could be a bit amiss or there's something that needs to shift. And one of the ways we can do that, because we can't control anyone else or other circumstances, is to change it from within. So that's what I help people do, especially going through these stages. So one of the things that I recommend is when you start to notice what you don't want to experience, and you get to the point of awareness about that. So not just like, oh, I don't like this. And you're constantly going in like that lady and just venting about it. Take a moment to be like, okay, got it. Like that's really something I don't want. And then actually sit for a while and think about what would you actually prefer instead? Because without giving space to that allowance of something that you do actually want to come, you're directing the energy in a way that is going to continually bring you to those negative, irritating experiences. And because I've done this a while and I've lived here in Italy for a while, I know and I've experienced what she did experience, that frustration, but also things working quite smoothly because I was able to think about what I actually wanted and use some techniques to allow that to come into my reality. And so it's really powerful to do energy work, even for things like culture shock, because you're in a sense in more control because you're working through it from an energy level inside yourself. So irritability, hostility, frustration. So one of the things that really supported me was to walk through and intend and do a little intention activation of what it is that I prefer instead often before I go into these circumstances that I'm either afraid are going to turn out poorly because of things that have happened in the past or anything like that. So I'm going to walk you through a little process. So you're going to take a couple deep breaths. In and out. And allow your shoulders to relax and drop, all the pressure that you may have from all the challenges that are happening that you feel you can't deal with well, that are causing this frustration, irritability, hostility. You're going to intend to let that go. And think about very, very briefly those feelings. Maybe they're not exactly irritability, but like, what are those feelings? You're going to notice what those feelings are for you. So you can pause this video if you need to, take a little bit more time and really identify what those feelings are for you. Okay. And once you have those feelings, we're going to kind of flip it. So what would be the opposite of those feelings? Or what would you want to feel instead? So instead of hostility and just like, I hate everything, what do you want to feel instead? Would that be productivity? Would that be flow? Things just working, without kind of force, just allowing? Would that be happiness? Would that be joy? Would that be excitement? Because everything that you need to happen is happening kind of as if it's on its own. So whatever that feeling is, I want you to, pause this if you need to and really identify what it is you want instead. All right. Next, we're going to do a little meditation visualization process where you're going to take those feelings. So let's say they are of relief or excitement, something like that. You're going to close your eyes, or you can keep them open if you're able to do that, but you can close your eyes and imagine, intense, sense, perceive, feel that these emotions are now inside of your heart space. So you can imagine them kind of being in the middle of that space. And what we're going to do is we're going to intend, sense, feel, whatever it is that works for you, to amplify those feelings. Okay? Now this may take a while, so kind of just sit there and imagine or feel these feelings growing and growing and growing within you, kind of like light, or almost like maybe even like an explosion of a star or starburst, something like that. You're going to allow it to grow, 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 and let it out of your heart like a little explosion, and let it go. And now that you've directed that energy, you've identified that feeling, and you've really created it in your heart, I'm going to bring through the song bath to help anchor that feeling into your energy field so that you can go and move beyond this state of irritability, hostility, and frustration into hopefully the next stage, or into something even better. Okay? So here we go. Ooh, I la ooh, I oh, ya, ya, ooh, me, ya, ooh, ya, ya, ooh, me, ya, ooh, ya, So take another deep breath. Allow those frequencies to kind of soak in. And you may get the sense to move around, dance, take a little cuddle with your blanket, drink some water, allow yourself to kind of cry and feel and let some of those emotions flow through you without holding on to them. And so do let me know. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you experienced or anything that you noticed. People will feel things differently as these sounds are kind of coming to them. And if this has been useful, feel free to share it with somebody you think would also find it useful. You can also subscribe to my channel, like this video, and you could also leave a comment about what you want to hear next. I'm going to move through the stages of culture shock, but if there's something that really is getting your attention that you think others would also find useful, leave a comment below and I'll make a video on it. And you can also check in the notes below. I leave the timestamps for the meditation and the song bath. So if you want to return to that, you can listen to it over and over again, or listen to it once a day as like your little settling in mini meditation, and use that to help you move through your feelings of frustration, hostility, and irritation wherever you are in the world. So thank you so much for being here with me on this journey through these emotions. And I'm going to wish you lots of love and the best day or night wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.